Hello, I'm Chuck Wooden. I'm also joined by my co-host, Monique Melanson-Hunter, and you're watching the Veterans Corner.
Thank you, Chuck. If you haven't seen our show before, it's dedicated to our veterans, our families of our veterans, and those in the community that support our veterans.
Thanks, Monique. We have another great show tonight. For those that actually, I was just going to say, actually, we have someone here today that's no stranger to the show. I think that's what I was trying to say, Jer. Jer, welcome back to the show. Jerry Wright. Jerry is going to be talking about Agent Orange, and he's also the founder of Sprayed and Betrayed AO. And he travels the country talking about and bringing awareness for Agent Orange to not only the veterans, Vietnam veterans, but also to the public. Yes. Jerry's a retired first sergeant from the United States Army. He served in the 19th Combat Engineers from 1969 to 1970 in Vietnam. He is an Agent Orange survivor. He was inducted into the Connecticut Veterans Hall of Fame in 2014. And I always stop at that because that is a major accomplishment, and congratulations. Yes, it's an honor to have you here. I mean, that right there is an honor. Being inducted into the Hall of Fame. He's also a member of the following VSOs, that's Veteran Service Organizations, the American Legion, VFW, DAV. He's a life member of all these, and also the Vietnam Veterans Association. Welcome, Chair. It's great to have you back.
Thank you, Winnie.
Thank you, Jerry.
You know, you've been on this show a number of times, and each time has been extremely enlightening. And I know that tonight is going to be no different. And as always, like we have in the past, we've had you on for a double header. So this is going to be 2 episodes.
Good.
So this is part 1 here, since there's so much updates that you are going to give us tonight from everything that's going on with the bills in Washington, D.C. But let's
trip.
Yeah, the trip to Spokane, Washington. We're going to be talking about that. We just went into your military background. We usually here at the show ask, you know where you've been, how long you were in. Actually, why don't you do that briefly, just because I don't think right here was the total amount of time that you've been in.
No, it's not. No, I went in December 31st, 1968, New Year's Eve, in Albany, New York, and went to basic training in January of '69. I think it was the 3rd or the 4th, and then off to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri for engineer training, came home for 2 weeks, off to Vietnam on May 27th. And May 29th, I was blown clean out of my bed by a Southwell charge that hit outside our tent. And I was often wondering why all the older guys, and I'm talking guys that have been in country more than a day, were all sleeping in underground bunkers, and the new guys were in tents with 55-gallon drums around them. Well, what's that going to stop a rocket coming through the top? So anyway, after that, I came back to Fort Bragg. I went to Pathfinder School under General Westmoreland, and I was offered a position as a warrant officer in the regular Army, and I didn't take it. So I was out for 11 years, and a recruiter came to the house one day to bring my brother into the military, into the National Guard, and talked me into it. And I joined the National Guard, spent 17 and a half more years. Was activated for Desert Storm, went back to Fort Leonard Wood, training up, getting ready to head off to Kuwait, and the 100-hour RTAP ended, and 2,200 of us got sent home 2 weeks later. So it's been an interesting run.
It certainly has.
Wow.
Certainly has.
Thank you so much for your service.
Yeah,
oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, on behalf of the crew here, Monique, myself, and the viewers, thank you very much for your service.
Well, less than 1% of the population of this country serves in the military.
Right.
Yeah.
And less than 2% served during the Vietnam War.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you think about the 350 million, is it, that's in this country?
Yeah.
Billion that's in this country? And only 2% are keeping you safe?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, we constantly see those numbers all the time.
All the time, yeah.
And a lot of times it's, I mean, not to get off track here, but a lot of times it's the National Guard, it's the reserves that are taking the brunt of it, at least in the last 20 years or so.
Oh, yeah. Especially like Afghanistan now, it's been 17 years.
Yeah.
We've been over there, and the National Guard here in Connecticut, there's some of the units, like the ABCRAD has been off for 4 or 5 tours over there. Sometimes they're 6-month or 9-month tours, but that's still rough on the families.
Yeah.
That's the hardest part about the military, is when you have a conflict like what's going on, and we're in Africa.
We're everywhere.
We're everywhere in this country,
Yeah.
in the whole world here. It's very tough on the families.
And you know, it goes back actually all the way back to Desert Storm, because I worked with some reservists back then, and they were all activated. So I mean, it goes back quite a ways.
Yep.
You know, can you give the viewers, for those that haven't seen some of the past shows, that don't have much knowledge on Agent Orange, what it actually is,
Yep.
what it was used for, can you give them, the viewers, just a brief overview of, you know?
There's no such thing as a brief overview, Chuck,
Yeah.
of this, because this is so intense.
Well, and here we are on what, show number? I don't even know how many times you've been here.
Yeah.
So,
Well, Agent Orange is one of many dioxins. You've got Agent White, Agent Green, Agent Purple, Agent Pink, and they actually combined Agent White, Green, and Purple to make Agent Orange. Agent White has no dioxin in it. It was used to defoliate, especially like around the rice paddies and things like that, but no dioxin. It took too long to work. So the government says, we got to speed this up. So they combined the purple, the green, and the blue into, made Agent Orange. And it's very toxic. When they did that, they would spray, around 20 million gallons was sprayed to defoliate. And if you ever saw film clips of Vietnam, the canopy covers are just so heavy you can't see. The sides of the roads, the jungle grass is 6 foot tall, it's thick. They can just step off, be 2 feet off the road, you never see them. So we would spray. I got pictures of where I sprayed off the back of a 5-ton truck and around our compound, down sides of roads. The helicopters sprayed, the C-130 sprayed. Well, where does that go? It goes into your water supply. They found out they mixed diesel fuel with it, that it would be sticky, and it would stick to the leaves, stick to the branches, stick to the trees, and it would defoliate quicker. At that time, it was so toxic that it wasn't working fast enough, so they asked Monsanto and Dow and Uniroyal to increase the toxicity. They wanted a quicker kill. And when they did that, they said it wasn't harmful to humans, but why is the monkeys dying? Why are the snakes dying?
all the wildlife.
The wildlife is dying. There's no birds chirping anymore because there's nothing there. And then they'd send us in 3 or 4 days later with bulldozers to clear. Well, this is dry, brittle. So we're breathing the dust.
Yeah.
No hat, no shirt, no gloves. And you also asked what the lasting effect was. It's been 50 years for me, and it's still affected me.
Yeah.
And the lasting effect is that we, as a Vietnam veteran, would contaminate our wife through sperm
Yep.
and through birth, where sometimes it would skip a generation and go to the second generation where the kids were born with all kinds of ailments, from tumors to cancer to spinal bifida, no eyes, no fingers, no hands. And you can see proof of that when there's 3 million Vietnamese kids that way today.
Yeah.
And they're into the third generations. The VA says that they will treat the kids if they're born to a woman who served in Vietnam, but not to the man that served in Vietnam. So, and that's another thing that they're constantly fighting. And
I don't even know if there's words for that.
I don't know.
I don't know if there's
Doesn't
words
make
to describe
sense.
that.
No.
Well, it's tough, you know, like you said, I was at Spokane, Washington. I was a spokesperson at the VVA convention this year. Our guest speaker was Secretary of the VA Wilkie. And you can't imagine that there's 800 very upset Vietnam veterans in this hall would not let us get anywhere near him and escorted him out with security, and he disappeared. We couldn't even talk to him. And that's a sad thing. So.
And one thing I've learned, you know, from the past shows is, I mean, it just keeps going. It doesn't break down.
It's not water soluble.
Yeah.
It doesn't like water, so it doesn't bond to it. It bonds to the fatty tissues in your body. In other words, let's say the Navy runs in with a ship loaded into Cameron Bay or Tonsuna, whatever the ports are, and they unload, they take on water for ballast. When they do that, they heat the water to get rid of the salt so they can shave, shower, and drink it. Okay, well, that intensifies the dioxin about 12 times. And so they get back to Okinawa and Subic Bay and Guam, and they unload the water so they can take on more trucks, equipment, ammo, and that is deposited in the water, and the fish drink the water, and the fish now have fatty tissues in their body, and the seagulls pick it up, the fishermen pick it up, and they eat it. And that's how it's transferred.
Big snowball effect.
It snowballs. And it's a sad thing. The Blue Water Navy bill was H.R. 299. It passed the House and it passed the Senate this year with unanimous support. It didn't get anywhere until Procchio sued the Secretary of the VA that we need to be treated. The courts approved it 9-2. The VA had to pay and take care of the 9,000 sailors that served on over 700 ships over a 10-year period. The Secretary of the VA says, not so fast, I'm putting a stay on it and not paying anybody until 2020.
I remember that.
Okay? Well, according to the VA, we're dying at the rate of 390 a day. Times 6 months is another 70,000 of us that are going to be gone.
Right.
So that's another 70,000 they don't have to pay. And it's not that the VA is that bad. There's two parts to the VA. You got your medical end that takes good care of us veterans, and you got the administrative and the disability end that needs a good kick in the teeth. And that's got to come from the politicians to do that.
Change the laws.
We're going to talk more about that on the second part, second segment rather.
Yep.
But you know, it's while we're on the subject, a lot of people don't realize. They think it was just the ground troops that were primarily affected. And as we just learned now, as you just learned, the Navy took the brunt of it. I mean, they were exposed to it probably a lot more so. I mean, everything they did, they came in contact with that at a 12% higher potency.
You know what you don't hear about? The Thailand veterans,
Right.
the Laos veterans,
Right.
the military,
Exactly.
the Air Force. I'm hooked up with a group out of Georgia called the Vietnam-Thailand Security Police Force. They're all Air Force. And they guarded the C-130s in Thailand while they're loading the Agent Orange on it because the zappers were trying to breach the wire and blow up the C-123 so they wouldn't spray over into Vietnam. And so they sprayed all around their compound, never known as Agent Orange, around the wire, and so they could see.
Yeah.
So they were being zappered. And I think there was 1,800 in that organization, and they sent me a letter saying they support what I'm doing, and every one was ill.
Oh.
That's left.
Wow.
And nobody talks about the Thailand Security Police Force.
Wow.
Well, that's
Or the Swift boats. We can, oh my God, we can get into the Swift boat guys. 68 to 71 that patrolled the rivers with with Swift boats, and they sprayed up and down the river banks to get rid of the grass and the leaves so they could see, because they were getting ambushed and they couldn't see the enemy, so they'd spray. There's pictures of them spraying all up and down the rivers. And the government, it's called the Brown Water Navy, but the government did realize that they do need to take care of them.
yeah.
So,
You know, this is one of those topics, and that's why you've always have an open invitation here. You know, this is one of those topics that we can just continue and just, I mean, there's so much that branches off of it.
oh yeah.
And it's things, every single one of these topics that do branch off the public needs to know about it.
Right.
Well, that's why we depend on you, Chuck, and Monique, and Frontier, and Nutmeg to do this, because We need a voice. I can talk all day long, and I only talk to you.
Yeah.
You talk all day long, you talk to thousands.
You could talk to us all day.
We actually, this is one of those things, I mean, we've got 10 minutes left already. And
I want to hear about his trip to Spokane.
And I mean, we can actually make this 3 segments, and maybe we can talk about that after the second one to see if you'd be willing to come back.
Of course.
In 2 weeks, you know, for another taping. But yeah, let's jump into some of the questions that we had. I thought it was important that we give the viewers an overview of Agent Orange. What caused you to become, I mean, actually, it's a question that I had written down. Everything we've gone over pretty much answers the question that I'm going to ask, but I'm going to ask it anyways. What caused you to become an advocate for those exposed and affected by Agent Orange?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
The only thing I know is when I sold my business 3 years ago, after 30 years of 70 hours a week for 30 years, I went down to the basement, I opened up my trunk of memorabilia, and I'm going, Agent Orange. Oh, Stars and Stripes, 1978. Agent Orange. Senator Patrick Leahy said we should be treated, 1981. 1984, when they sued the government, and they sued Monsanto, and they got $180 million. And where's that $180 million gone? Nobody knows where that went to. And then I got looking at this piece of paper that said, well, we have 14 illnesses that we could have from Agent Orange, but 3 of those have end dates, or they call onset dates, of 1 year of separation from dioxin with a 10% disability. Well, I sprayed it. And I was discharged in 1971. They didn't say, hey, Jerry, did you spray dioxin when you were over in Vietnam? I would have said, oh, that's what that was. And then there'd be a paper trail. So in 1979, when I heard about this, and I went to the VA and had my Agent Orange exam and everything like that, and they said, no, they said, we can't give you a disability because there's no paper trail. You were traded for skin rash and you were traded for this in country, but it wasn't documented. And that's why I tell the soldiers today that in Afghanistan and Iraq, if you're by a burn pit, you make darn sure you take pictures of it, you're standing next to that burn pit, and get it documented. Don't wait 50 years like happened to us.
Absolutely.
That's another show we'll be doing, hopefully maybe in the fall rotation.
Yep.
Burn pits, that's something that really been looking at for quite some time. We just haven't gotten to it yet.
Right.
Yep.
Drew from Vet Fuel was on and talked about that, and it was very interesting. And we're going to learn.
Once again, it's something that the general public doesn't know about.
Spokane.
Yes.
Yeah, let's talk about it. So you made a trip to Spokane, Washington, and it was to speak at the Vietnam Veterans Convention of America Convention. So how was the trip? Anything memorable happen there?
How much time we got left? It was great. As you know, I travel across the country on an orange Honda Goldwing trike with a trailer, letters sprayed and betrayed with a Grim Reaper on it. And I did that because I want to draw attention to what I'm doing. And so to travel up through Wisconsin, Minnesota, I stayed with the 6th District Commander of the American Legion of Writers and his family. They invited me to stay at their home. They fed me. Off into North Dakota, where I got soaking wet and dry 4 times in one day. I thought I was in the monsoon season again, and got into heavy winds that were so bad. Into Montana, where I got a text from a lady. She said, a friend of mine in California has been following you. I lost my husband 2 years ago to Agent Orange, and if you're going through Bozeman, I want you to stop. I want to put you up. I want to feed you. I want to talk to you. And I said, well, probably not going to sit well with my wife if I tell her I'm staying with a widow out in Bozeman, Montana for the weekend.
I think that's a country music song, Jerry.
So-
I don't know.
Had nothing to do
It
with
will be.
It will be.
It could be, yeah.
So I did meet her in a truck stop, and we did talk, and I gave her a lot of literature, and she is working the senators and congressmen in that area, and off into Spokane, which is absolutely a beautiful city, had a great time. And on the way back, I went up through Glacier National Park, and I did the Sun Highway. Almost got stuck in mud coming back because the roads are all tore up, or they're washing out. And come back into Montana, and I noticed the clouds were getting gray and black, and the air got still. And I'm running about 75. And all of a sudden, I'm doing 85 at a quarter throttle, and this tornado come up behind me and was pushing me. And I got into this little town and got a room as soon as I walked in and got a room, the sky just let go. And they said, yeah, the tornado turned about 10, 12 miles back and went into Alberta, up into Canada. So that was pretty cool. And on the way back, I just met so many people. And that's the whole idea of what I do when I travel, is to remind people that we're still suffering today from a dioxin that was sprayed on us by our own government and was told it was fine. And boy, that irks me. So how did I get involved in it?
Doesn't surprise me.
It just, I just went to Congressman Courtney and I said, what are we going to do about those end dates? And he said, let's get a bill, let's get a petition. And so we got the House Bill 566 and the Senate Bill 332. And you can follow that by going to congress.gov and see who's co-sponsored it and who hasn't. Along with one senator in Connecticut that has not, all the congressmen have. And again, Senator Blumenthal has been very supportive. Congressman Courtney has been very supportive. And, but yeah, we do need to get this bill brought up. And we need co-sponsors. If we don't get enough co-sponsors, the bill won't be brought up. Yeah. It won't be voted on.
You know, we were talking about, maybe a third segment. It looks like we're going to have to, because we've already gone through this show. We've got about 3 minutes left.
Yep.
I know that what we'll do is we'll pick up on the trip on the second segment.
Okay.
And then move from there and see how much time we need. But you had wanted to talk about the store, didn't you? On
Yep, the
this
Agent
segment?
Orange store.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, the Agent Orange store got a hold of me out in Spokane, and they saw what I was doing out there, and they said, do you need help? And I said, oh, of course. And so the agentorangestore.com, all together. And when you go there, they've got hats and pins and coins, and you put Jerry with a G with a W in the comment section, and they're willing to give me 25% of the purchases. And they've already got orders out of Oregon, they've already got orders out of Arizona. And that's important, because now all of a sudden there's more people.
Awareness.
It's
There's
awareness.
more exposure.
Yep.
And obviously, the funding that you need to continue to do what you're doing.
We'll go over that on the next segment.
Yeah.
So that'd be awesome. Thank you.
That's agentorangestore.com. And
Jerry with a W in the comment section, and then I get 25% of the sale.
Excellent. That's great.
so, yeah, we got about 2 minutes left.
Okay.
So, yeah, we're definitely going to cover a little bit more of this, the trip, the convention. We'll start that off on the next segment.
Is there anywhere that to end the show to ask where they can go to find out information about you,
Sprayed and
Jerry?
Betrayed.
Yeah. So it's Sprayed and Betrayed.
Sprayed Betrayed AO is my
AO.
Facebook page.
All right.
Or email me at happyhauler, Hauler, not holler, it's holler,
Yeah.
at comcast.net, and I can send you whatever you want for.
And I know we'll be talking about this in the next show, but you are going to be at Stand Down in Rock Hill September 20th?
Yes, I'll be at the
All right.
gazebo in the
Excellent.
center of everything, and the Commissioner Sadi has given me the gazebo to talk
Excellent.
about Agent
That's
Orange.
important. That's a good point,
Yeah.
because by the time this show is aired, it's getting around that time.
Perfect.
So, and that's one thing. One thing we've been trying to emphasize is, because these shows are shown, down the road.
Yeah.
So that's September 20th, 2019.
2019.
We don't want anybody showing up next year,
Right.
September 20th, and wonder where everybody's at.
That's right. That's right.
Well, Jerry, it's always enlightening. It's always a pleasure. It's always an honor to have you on the show. We look forward to the second segment to go over a multitude of stuff that we have not picked up yet. So on behalf of Monique, the crew, the viewers, we want to thank you very
so
much for being here. With that being said, that's about all the time we have. Once again, I want to thank you, Jerry, for being here. We want to thank you, the viewers, for watching and joining us. I'm Chuck Wooden.
I'm Monique Melanson Hunter.
Good night, and we'll see you next time on the Veterans Corner.